I'm a door-to-door
back in the
condom
80s we had,
salesman. Yeah.
yeah, remember we had those back in the. Remember, you can't get AIDS from dead people.
Screw you. This is nothing like Hitchcock. I know. The necrophiliacs are the creepy people. Grave robbers.
Grave robbers.
So you want to describe it?
Well, yeah, it's filmed by Straw
Weissman?
who's a Weissman, yeah.
Weissman, yeah, Straw Weissman.
Who turns out he's done a lot of kind of like borderline pornographic kind of like B movies. But it starts out
Bikini Model Academy. Isn't it a first-rate Class A kind of film?
Yep. But it's a 1988 film. It stars not a lot of people that you might not know now. There's Elizabeth Menino, who is the main actress in this. It's the only thing she ever did. And then you have the lover / bad guy, Chris Kattan. It's not Chris Kattan. He just looks like him, though. He looks like buff Chris Kattan, right?
I didn't think that, but you're right. He does look like
him. He does. Because he's bigger and taller than Chris Kattan, but I'm like, is that Chris Kattan? Is he going to start doing Night of the Roxbury on me? Yeah. Yeah, but so she has the movie starts. She has a dream that she's in a casket, and all these hands come and they start opening her up. And of course, in typical low budget horror movie fashion, she just can't do anything about it, right? And they take her guts out and they take her beating heart, and it turns out it's just a dream. She's actually Nora is just a waitress at a diner. Yeah, and then weird stuff happens from there.
Yeah, and then
it all gets really weird.
Yeah, not Chris Kattan comes in and is basically like, "Hey, you want to get married?" And she's like, "Sure, yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, but remember, she turned down the slimy condom salesman first.
Yeah,
because he's not rich. So slimy condom salesman comes in. He's like, "I'm a door-to-door salesman," and he's slimy with the slick back. And it just looks like this. I'm selling product. It's the product of the 80s. And he opens up his thing. It's a whole thing of condoms. He's a condom salesman.
I'm a door-to-door condom salesman.
Yeah, remember we had those back in the 80s. But she totally hates him, spits in his coffee. But then creepy buff Chris Kattan comes in, and she's all about him, even though he's probably just as creepy. But he's rich, so. Yeah. Hey, I know this is sudden, but do you want to get married, diner waitress? Oh, yeah, let's do it. Fine. I don't know you, but let's go back. Let's go get married. And they do. So she's diner waitress. She gets married. She goes to this town, Newbury. And she gets married with the dude who turns out to be like this really wealthy mortician. Probably would have been good to know that before you married him, just so you could know that you're going to be living in a house of death. But he's rich, right?
That's what matters. Yeah, this movie's like so shallow. It's like, oh, but he's rich. So, and then like the girl that she works with as well, she's like, oh, good for you. You bagged a, rich dude, and like, you go, girl, and stuff. At no point she's like, wait a minute, this dude just walked in and said you want to get married, and you're like, hell yeah.
Well, anytime I walk in and propose to a diner waitress, they've always rejected me, and they didn't even ask how much money I had. I mean, they would have been sorely disappointed, but still, they didn't even ask.
Mm-hmm.
So the mortician, he's kind of like, I love you. And turns out he's been married before and he's a widower. She's like, okay. And everybody in the town is kind of creepy, Control 2 style. So he's got the chauffeur who's always just like
lurch.
Yeah. And there's she goes to the mansion, the death mansion, whatever. And like the leaders of the town are just there waiting for her. Because of course they knew the diner waitress is coming, right? They're like, oh,
I know they
everybody get
totally
together.
like, of course he's going to succeed in asking some random girl that he runs into to marry him. So we'll
Yeah.
just be here waiting
Well, this
to
is the bank
part of the
president.
marriage.
This is the librarian. This is the sheriff. All the leaders of our community are here to greet you because we like you. Yeah. Oh man, this movie's bonkers. It is very shallow too. So it, not there's not a lot of special effects going on right now either. Like there's not a lot of gore or anything at this point. It's just a lot of the creepy people greeting the new girl in town who just married the mortician, right? So that kind of goes on, but then there's this cheerleader girl, right? And she's in a car, but she can't stop the car. She can't stop the car, and then she ends up in a car accident and she dies, right? And the priest has a funeral. Everybody's really sad about it, but not really, because they're like, oh yeah, you know, something's going on, where people are a little bit like, yeah, fresh meat. So the ambulance guys, they now you pretty much figure what it's all about when the ambulance guys take, and they're like,
Hello.
that's still fresh out of the lake.
Soft and warm still. Yeah, the ambulance guys are creepy fuckers. And what's funny is like the one ambulance guy kind of acts like he's like, dude, you know, what do you don't be a jackass, right? And but then he like pulls the ambulance over. He watches in the mirror a little bit, and then he kind of gets in on it, and it's like, yeah, okay.
Little necrophilia. And so now we know what this movie's all about.
Yeah, we do.
But you kind of get a sense, because on the wedding night in the morgue mansion, the mortician, Studley mortician dude's like, she's like, oh, the bed is cold. He's like, yeah, I like it cold. Okay, let's get it on. And she starts caressing. He's like, no, I want you to be totally still.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
Move. Okay, we know what he's into.
So everybody in this town is kind of all about that action, right? So they take the body of the dead girl to the mortician, and they, Nora's watching through a little hole, and they're electrocuting her, and she's moving around. That's about all that happens, though. I think it's suggestive that they all get it on or something, but
you don't really see it.
No, but the line, dude, this is the 80s. The mortician dude's like, all right, this is great, because you remember, you can't get AIDS from dead people.
That was the best one. He's like, okay, everybody, no problem. You can't get AIDS from dead people.
And it really just shows you how kind of immature the 80s still was with regard to like sex and sexuality. We got the condom salesman, and that's kind of he's selling condoms, and then you can't get AIDS from dead people. It just, I don't know. The 80s, I think, was the last decade where people were still maybe a little bit like immature with sexuality. The whole necrophilia thing was interesting in a way, I guess. Like it's something that's so taboo, something you don't think of much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they did a good job with it of making it like stay taboo. The necrophiliacs are the creepy people, and that's
and the whole town is creepy.
And just the fact that everybody in this town's creepy.
Everybody in this town's the creepy necrophiliacs, except the priest.
Yeah, it was fun. It's cool too, because how they throughout the large portion of the film, there's like this. She's trying to like, was I just dreaming that? Because the lurch comes in and sees her, but he doesn't like rat her out or anything, right? And then she wakes up the next morning and acts like, thinks it was kind of a dream. And there's points where she's like, I got to get out of town, but then she doesn't get out of town. And then it's kind of a nice little dynamic of her like, is any of this real?
Yeah. I think they were going for that. So the brother of the dead girl is like, hey, there's something going on here. And they go find that her body's gone from the graveyard, but then zombies come and attack him. And you think he died. So now she thinks he's in trouble. And again, like you said, it's like, is it a dream or not? So where does she go? She goes back. She keeps going back to that mortuary place Like,
Yeah, that's the thing. She
where all the
has
weird shit happens.
opportunity to leave town, right? She has access to a vehicle. She could just hop in and drive away. And then she's like, nope, I'm going to go back to the mortuary.
Yeah, but that's after she tries to like hang out in the town, but all the townspeople are crazy. That mama with the deli.
Oh,
or
she was
whatever.
awesome.
Hey,
She just runs into
welcome
this
to
little house to
town.
like, help me. And she's like, I'll help you. And it's like, run away.
She was like Psycho Large Marge from Pee Wee Herman. Like,
totally.
just like Psycho Large Marge in the house. I hope that lady had a career after this because she was epic. Yeah, but she keeps going back.
She goes to the sheriff and it's like, dude, the sheriff is not going to help you. This sheriff is clearly not going to help you.
He's in on the little necrophilic like pact that all the towns leaders have, the town people have, this kind of thing. She finally sees her gravestone. They've got the two wives before, and then it's her, and they were all born the same years, right? So she knows she's next. But she still keep going back there because it's such a comfortable place, man. She got a nice room.
No TV. Plenty
No
of time
TV.
to sit with her thoughts. Read a book that she picked up from the library. Stephen King book, of course.
Stephen King book. Yep. They kept saying, got to read the Stephen King book.
Did you read that Stephen King book? Great Stephen King book. Yeah, so this is that kind of typical B. Like, I guess we don't need to give too much more away. Watch the film if you can track it down.
Yeah.
To find out how it ends for our young heroine. But it's typical kind of 80s horror B movie, but it does a good job with the suspense. It's not too over the top, I think, while still being a bit over the top. You kind of know what's going to happen, but in not in a bad way.
I thought this would be, this is obviously low budget, but for as low budget as it was, I think that like the cinematography is pretty good.
Yeah, there's
And
a lot of
for B
stuff that
actors, I
happens.
think
Like
they're
there's
okay.
the when she's racing away and the dude on the motorcycle.
The
You get
zombie
all of those
motorcycle
shots.
zombie guy.
Yeah, and the special effects of the zombie
Yeah.
thing going on with his face
Yeah.
falling apart in the wind.
Yeah, they put some effort into it. I think for a really like very low budget movie, it's pretty good. I think it's pretty fun. It's in one of those kind of fun categories
Yeah.
where it's egregiously low budget. I think the pacing is kind of interesting because it is a little slow, but they do a good job with it. It's kind of suspense, kind of like suspenseful vibe. And then you get enough at the beginning of the end with the kind of some gore and zombies and stuff like that to make it a horror movie. But a lot of it's just kind of like suspense. And you could tell they actually had some locations, like they got that big morgue, that mansion and the town and all of that. It's actually, I've never heard of this movie at all. And it came with the movie that we got, and this came with it. Remember, we didn't even know we were going to get this movie, but I think it's all right.
Yes. So it came in the package with Monstrosity.
Yep.
And you also got Grave Robbers in with
which is
Monstrosity.
actually the better of the films. For
I would
sure.
agree with that too. Actually, I would say this should say Grave Robbers
Uh-huh.
and then have Monstrosity that comes with it.
Yeah. But I was looking into it a little bit. So it's directed by Straw Weissman. He did a lot of kind of like the sexy time horror kind of stuff. This was originally, or one of the names for this, which is why you might not have heard of it, it's one of the original names was Dead Mate.
Dead Mate.
Dead
Not Dead
Mate.
Meat, but Dead Mate.
Yeah, get it? And the cover was more like this. The original cover was kind of this romance novel looking cover with Studley, Chris Kattan, and just some ambiguous woman. That's not
David Gregory, should anyone want to know who we're actually talking about.
Yeah, David Gregory. Yeah, he's the one we're calling
Chris
Buff
Kattan.
Chris Kattan. But yeah, that started out. It started out as one of the names for it was Dead Mate, and the original VHS was kind of like this romance novel looking. It's from a Prism video box, like a VHS box. So you might not have even seen it as Grave Robbers if you saw it at all back in 1988 on the VHS shelves. You might have seen it as Dead Mate.
So if you watch Dead Mate, that's what we're talking about. But
Yep.
you probably didn't.
No, probably
Well,
not.
it's overlooked.
This one's overlooked, man.
Totally. Yeah. It is too, because there's not a lot of graphic violence in it. There's not a lot of gore. There's the opening sequence where, you know, she's getting torn apart and stuff like that. There's the bit with the guys being attacked by the zombies, but you don't really see anything. There's the bit where she's kind of running around in the basement of the mortuary, and but there's not overall not a whole lot of gore and not a whole lot of violence. It's kind of it's more of almost a B thriller, or instead of a B horror movie, although, you know, it's definitely a B horror movie.
Yeah, but it's got that thriller thing, that more of that thriller that kind of vibe to it.
Hitchcockian kind of.
Yeah, and it's not good, right?
No. I'm not comparing this to any Alfred Hitchcock film, just so we're clear.
Yeah,
don't leave some nasty comment and be like, screw you, this is nothing like Hitchcock. I know. It's not.
Yeah, no, it's not good, but I think it's going for that. And for what it is, I think I'll give it my thumbs up. How about you?
Yeah, I would say this one is unjustifiably overlooked, as in it should not be overlooked and should be on the watch list, B movies. So I'm going thumbs up with it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. And I was looking, because the actress, I was like, oh, she kind of pretty. Does she ever do anything else? And I was kind of looking around. Her name was Elizabeth Manino. Not a thing else. This is like one of those things that she went to be an actress in Hollywood. She found this and she was like, yeah, that's the best I can do. I'm going to go make a career doing something else. And she disappeared, bro.
I'm going back to Iowa.
Yeah, I'm going back to Iowa, man.
Screw you, Hollywood.
Yeah. But then there's a whole bunch of David Gregory's. And I was like, well, I don't know which one he is. So I just call him Buff Chris Kattan now.
Well, and what's interesting, like you look him up on IMDb, and this was his last film. Did you see that? This is according to IMDb, by the way.
Yeah. So wherever he's at, if he's still around, give us a call. Let us know what you're doing, and let us know if you like Chris Kattan or not.
Are you a Chris Kattan fan, David Gregory?
Yeah, that's the question of the day. Is David Gregory a Chris Kattan fan? So call us back, bro. Let us know what's up.
Let us know.